Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Richard Wilmore.
Oh, sit, relax. Welcome to Make Your Day Richer. I'm so excited to talk to our guest because he has lived an absolutely incredible, crazy life. Patrick O'Donnell spent 25 years serving the Milwaukee community as the police sergeant, and he has now written 10 books. He hosts the popular Cops and Writers podcast, and he's an expert consultant for all those great police shows we watch. He's here today to talk about what happens when you step away from one path and find an even cooler new one. Please give a huge warm welcome to my new friend, the amazing Patrick O'Donnell. Hit it, Big Infinite.
Make your day richer than it was before. Got some good times knocking upon your front door.
Sounds good.
Well, Patrick, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I mean, did you grow up in Milwaukee?
No, I was born on the south side of Chicago.
Okay.
Both my parents are Irish immigrants.
Oh, nice.
So you either wind up in New York, Boston, New Jersey, or Chicago. So we
Uh-huh.
wound up in Chicago.
Yeah, I lived 30 years in Wisconsin. I grew up in northern Wisconsin and
Oh.
lived in Milwaukee for 15 years. So I love Milwaukee.
Oh, no kidding. Okay. What part of Milwaukee?
I mean, I went to UW Milwaukee. So as a college student, I
Okay.
was moving all over every year when my lease was up. So I was everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. UW Milwaukee was part of my beat for a while. So that was a part of my
Mhm.
squad area for a little bit.
Okay, so you are so fascinating to me because you have lived such a crazy life. I mean, 25 years as a police sergeant, you've written 10 books, host a podcast, you're a TV consultant. Like, what did you want to be when you grew up when you were a kid?
When I was a little kid, all the Apollo stuff was going on, and I was fascinated with that. I wanted to be an astronaut. I thought that was super cool.
Mm.
Then I learned there was math and chemistry and science and all that, and that's not my bag. So I'm like, all right, I guess not. So I thought maybe a doctor, and the same thing happened. But I was always fascinated with police. Growing up on the south side of Chicago, and then later on we moved north to the suburbs. You'd see the flashing blue lights and all the crazy stuff going on. I saw more than one pursuit, foot chases, et
Mm.
cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, wow, this is the coolest stuff ever. And then of course, television shows, Adam 12, Beretta, Starsky and Hutch, SWAT. Yeah. When you're a little kid, you're like, wow, that's so cool. And later on, another passion of mine was music. And I actually started college as a music major. I went to UW Whitewater. I graduated from there. And it didn't work out as well as planned. But then I had a minor in criminal justice. My major was sociology. And I did an internship with the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Department when I was a junior. And that totally sold me. I'm just like, I got to do this for a living.
How long has it been since you retired?
I retired in 2020, so it's been 5 years, and it feels like it was yesterday, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. I
It
bet.
really does.
Are you enjoying retirement? I mean, you're still busy. You're very busy. So I don't know if I would say you're retired, but
I'd say I'm retired from police work, but
yeah.
not entirely. So, I think the best part, and, it's the simple pleasures in life that give you, I think, the best bang for the buck. And for me, it's not waking up to an alarm. God, I love that. Oh, that's just so awesome. I absolutely love that.
Yeah, that's so funny. When did you start writing?
It's funny how that began. I'm dyslexic. I probably have ADHD. I mean, I'm all over the place. My wife calls me squirrel. It's like
Uh-huh.
squirrel. Yeah. And yeah, I'm a slow reader. The nuns were going crazy when I was going to Catholic school, as a kid. English and spelling were not my forte at all, but I could type really well. So I started typing at a young age because my mom was a clerk typist. That was her job. So she would practice at home and she said, "You want to practice with me?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think this is cool." So I learned the keyboard very quickly. And I was getting close to retirement. I had 20 years in. the luxury of being a first responder is usually you have a pension and you know that after 25 years or 20 or 30, depending where you are, you can retire from that job and get a
Mhm.
pension. So I knew the end was coming, and there's the big question of what am I going to do next? So before I was a cop, in between college and getting the job in the city of Milwaukee, I lived in Madison for about 6, 7 years, and I sold cars. I was a bartender. I was a restaurant manager. I did all this stuff before I was a cop. And one of the things, like I said before, I sold cars for 4 years. Well, I finally become a cop, but I always had people asking me, "Hey, could you help me buy a car?" Because it's about as much fun as going to the dentist and public speaking all wrapped up in
Uh-huh.
one. Yeah, it's like my wife refuses to go. She said, "Just get the damn car." And I'm like, all right, gotcha." So somebody is like, "You should write a book about that, about how to buy a car." And I'm like, I'm no writer. What are you talking about? Well, through a series of odd happenstance, I did write a book. I put it up on Amazon. I independently published it, and it actually sold. Strangers were paying me for my knowledge, and I'm like, that was the light bulb moment. I mean, I wasn't making millions of dollars or even thousands of dollars off of this book, but still, people, it was more than beer money. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, you can actually do this. So I started going to writers' conferences. I joined 20 Books to 50K, which is the largest independent author uh, group around. And they would have conferences in Vegas and once a year, and inevitably people would come up to me and say, "Hey, you're that cop guy, right?" And I'm just like, "I don't have a sandwich board, I don't have a t-shirt," it's like whatever. And hey, I have this question. Would you need a search warrant for this? Would you, go red lights and siren to this? Would you do this? Would you do that? And somebody who knows a lot more about this stuff took notice of this, and they're like, "You know what? You've written a couple of books. I had a couple of books under my belt now that did okay." They said, "What you should really do is write a book for authors who want to get their police facts straight." So I'm like,
Oh,
that's kind of a good idea. Now, this is all going on behind the scenes as I was getting ready to retire from being a cop. And I kind of did it on the down low. I had a couple of different pen names because any kind of off duty employment has to be approved by the chief. And I know he wouldn't even understand this. So I'm like, I'm
mhm.
not even going to go down that road. I'm popping smoke here in a little bit. Bye. See ya. So I wrote the first book in the Cops and Writers series. It's called Cops and Writers. And, it's from the academy to the street. And what that is, it's just an information book for people who want to get their facts straight, or if they're just curious about police stuff. And there it is. Ugh. And I wrote a sequel to it, Crime Scenes and Investigations, and it took off. And what happened was, in order to promote the books, I started a podcast. Because if you write a book, or if you want exposure, go on as many as podcasts as you can.
Mhm.
It's great exposure. But I was thinking to myself, I used to DJ when I was in college. And I'm not scared behind the microphone. I thought I had a fairly decent voice. Maybe I'll just start my own and promote myself. And bring, obviously I have guests on the show, etc. And then before I know it, I have my own podcast, and it really took off. And then I've got a Facebook group, which was my editor and a couple of buddies, and I've got like 8,500 people in my Facebook group.
Wow.
And it wound up on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. And I'm like, knocked me over with a feather. I didn't think that was gonna happen, like, okay. So it all kind of happened organically with a lot of work, but it just kinda happened.
Are you kind of loving this next phase of your life after retirement?
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
still miss police work. Don't get me wrong. It is the best job I thought. You're a public servant and you're helping people. And at its core, that's what police work is. And you
Mhm.
get to, drive around fast in a car with, red and blue lights and sirens. And there's still that little bit of kid in me that's like, yeah, I want to catch the bad guy. This person did this nefarious thing to this innocent person. I want to get him. I
Mhm.
want to snatch him up and take him to justice. It's like, no, this is not cool. It's you got to do something about it. So there's still that piece of me that loves police work, but yeah, I retired at 55, and it's like, you know what? It's a young guy's game. It ain't an old guy's game. So like, it was time. It was time.
Yeah. What are people going to find on the Cops and Writers podcast?
They're going to find all kinds of cool stuff. It started out as just, I had two requirements: be a cop, retired or active, and you wrote a book. So I'm going to learn about, you through your book. It's an opportunity for you to promote your book. It's an opportunity for my audience to learn something, get a chuckle, maybe be inspired. And it's kind of morphed into two lanes now, where the true crime genre is just exploding right now. People love true crime stuff, TV, podcasts, movies. And I've gone down that rabbit hole, and I'm also going down the writer rabbit hole. I love to bring writers on and kind of dissect them, not, literally, but dissect, it's like, okay, how do you do this? How do you become, prosperous at this? What's the secret sauce? That kind of thing. And I kind of blend it all together. I mean, I've had cops, lately I had an FBI agent that was fighting Somali pirates. The story that he had was just incredible. And then my latest episode that's running right now is a woman that lost her daughter on a cruise ship. She passed away on a cruise ship, and it was due to the negligence and the illegal activities that were going on this cruise ship. So she's on a crusade, and the what's the name of it's on Netflix. Amy Barrett, I think, or Amy is missing. She was on that Netflix special with the family, Amy's family, and Amy was taken from the cruise ship, and she's being human trafficked right now. There's some just really creepy, icky stuff going on.
Yeah.
But she's, a victim. I've had victims of crimes. I've had gangsters on that were in the Gambino crime family that, turned their lives around, and, he turned his life around, and, now he's writing books about it. So I had a spy. This guy was with the KGB, and he was embedded in the United States during the Cold War. And they did a TV show loosely based on his life. It was The Americans. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Yeah.
That was Jack Barsky's life. And I got to interview him. And then later on, I was in Atlanta moving my daughter, and I gave him a call. He was living there at the time. I said, "Hey, Jack, let's grab lunch." He says, "Yeah." So here I am having lunch with a former KGB agent. And the guy was hilarious. Yeah, he's like, I meet him, I shake his hand. He's like, "What's the password?" Yeah, and I'm like, "Oh, dude, you're killing me."
That's funny. You brought a clip along of the podcast. Can you set it up for everybody?
Which one was it? I thought I had a couple, actually. I think this is Jamie, the gal that lost her daughter on the cruise ship.
Okay.
That's what I have.
Okay, good. Take a look. That's great. What days when does it come out? Like, how often does it come out? And what day?
It's a weekly podcast that comes out Sunday mornings, like at 1:00 in the morning.
Okay. And what's the best way that people can connect with you out there in the world?
Copsandwriters.com is my website, and my email is sarge@copsandwriters.com.
Okay, good. And your latest book is The Good Caller, correct?
Yes. Here it is.
Just happens to be right there. Can you tell everybody about the book?
What a coincidence.
Just happen to have it. Yeah.
What a coincidence. Wow. Okay, if you're a fan of Dexter, think of it this way. If Dexter, John Wick, and The Equalizer all got together and had a baby, that's The Good Collar. It leans heavy into the vigilante crime genre, where you have this police sergeant in Milwaukee, and it takes place in Milwaukee. All of my fiction takes place in Milwaukee because that's what I know. I know that city like the back of my hand. And I know the culture, obviously, et cetera, et cetera. And what it is you have this young police sergeant that's in charge of the gang squad. Life is great. His wife just announces that, she's going to have a baby. They're going to start a family. Life is super awesome until they get jumped. She gets killed. He's in a coma, and he's turning into this vigilante now, going after the guys that killed his wife, and they got off on technicalities,
Wow.
in court. So of course, and then it morphs into a bigger story where he's being tutored by the police chaplain of the department, who is secretly a vigilante killer. He's a serial killer. So he's tutoring this young guy to take over his job.
My dad is going to love that book. My dad grew up in Waguanago. That's where my dad
Okay.
grew up.
Sure.
Still lives in Wisconsin, so I'm going to get him that book, and then we'll give a full report back to you on how great, how much he loved it, because I'm sure he's going to love that book. Yeah.
Well, I've had strangers email me and say, you know what? I was reading it and I had to stop because I was getting so emotional.
Wow.
I picked it up the next day and I'm like, good. If you're a writer and you can have impact like that,
Yeah.
man, that's the golden goose. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I've had more than one person that's like, man, I had one of my buddy's wives contact me and she says, I got a bone to pick with you. And I said, what's wrong? She said, you know how much sleep we're losing because of you and your book? And I'm like, what? She said, he won't turn off the light. Yeah, it's like he's reading this book and just one more chapter, just one more chapter, just one. I'm like, all right, I'll take that. I'll take that.
Yeah. What a compliment. Are you working on anything now?
The sequel to the
Very
book.
good. Good.
And I'm really leaning into the podcast right now. So I'd love to see that take off even more.
Okay, good. Before we go today, will you play a game with me?
Of course I will.
Okay, good. It's very easy, I think. I hope. No
Okay.
pressure.
No, not at all.
None at all. It's called Book 'em in 5. Okay?
Okay.
I'm going to read things related to either law enforcement, crime, or thriller. And if you get 4 out of 6, the entire non-existent studio audience gets a copy of The Good Call. Okay?
Oh,
No pressure.
outstanding.
Okay, so it's basically I'm going to give you a category and you have to name 3 things in that category in 5 seconds.
3 things. Okay.
Okay. Are you ready?
Ready.
Name 3 things you'd find at a crime scene.
A body, a gun, a bullet.
Perfect. Done. 1 down. Name 3 mistakes rookie crime writers make.
Misunderstanding what a gun does, not getting the ranks correct as far as, like at a crime scene, and timelines for something like, say, DNA. It doesn't happen within an hour. It's sometimes months.
Perfect. Okay, 2. Number 3. Name 3 things a detective might say during an interrogation.
You know what? I really understand where you're coming from. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you, et cetera, et cetera. And 3, you know what? I'm sure you would love the opportunity to apologize to your victim's family. Here's a piece of paper and a pen. Well, here's your chance. What is he doing? He's confessing. And an apology is a confession. I've used that more than once.
All right. One more, and everybody gets the copy of the book. Name 3 things you'd do to promote a new book.
Podcasts, number 1. Write the next book, number 2. And go on as many Facebook groups that are, relevant to that job.
Yeah, that's a good one. Good one. You got them all right. So that means everyone in the non-existent studio audience gets a copy of The Good Caller. And I thank you for that. I appreciate it. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, come back anytime.
Yeah, anytime. Yeah, I'm totally down. You have a great show. Keep up.
Thank you. We're going to take a break, so don't go away. We'll be right back after this.
You know what would be better than watching this commercial? Watching your commercial. Join the party that is Make Your Day Richer TV by advertising your brand, business, or project during the show. Use us to promote what you're doing to make our viewers' day richer. Scan the QR code or visit makeyourdayricher.com/advertising to start promoting today.
On tomorrow's show, author of Rebel Hugger, Melinda Lee, is here to talk to you. I'm kind of a good hugger, so I'm excited to talk to her about that. Go make your day richer. Go make somebody else's day richer. You've made mine by watching this show, and I love you for it. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.